Hey guys, welcome to PhoneArena's in-depth video review on the Motorola Xoom, which is the very first Android 3.0 honeycomb tablet on the market. It's going to go on sale starting February 24th for the 2-year contract price of only $800. And if you want to forgo doing that, you could always purchase it full price for no contract price of only $600. So it's a 10.1-inch tablet similar to what you see on the iPad. It's from Motorola's camp, and as we've seen, Motorola time after time, they partner up with Google to offer some of the more fantastic handsets out there on the market, such as the original Motorola Droid and even the Droid X, and now they're embarking on the same voyage with the Android 3.0 honeycomb with the Motorola Xoom. So we'll check it out and see how it stacks up and what new features can we expect out of the platform. As far as the design goes with the Motorola Xoom tablet, it's fairly pretty much typical looking. Nothing really that drastically stands out that makes it more appealing than other tablets out there. The choice of materials are pretty top-notch, just like what you expect out of any high-end Motorola device out there in the market. Specifically, it has a metallic type of exterior, which is pretty neat, just because it does give you that solid feel when you hold it, but you do notice a substantial amount of weight when you hold the device. And it's pretty large as far as tablets are concerned, just because of the 10.1-inch display it offers. The materials, though, does kind of retain a little bit of a smudging going on. You'll need to wipe it down to get it look clean, but overall we're still happy with the solid feel of the device. It's fairly streamlined, not too large at all. It looks like it's almost half an inch thick all around, and there's something, it's very minimalistic in its design approach. There's very few buttons outlining it, so it's neither that great of a design, but it's still more than acceptable, just because this is what you usually find with any tablets out there. Taking up the bulk of the real estate on the tablet is none other than the 10.1-inch display. It has a resolution of 1280 by 800 pixels, so it's fairly detailed. We didn't have any problems as far as making out even the tiniest of text. More than distinguishable. Color output, it seems to be pretty good, although brightness could be a little bit brighter than we'd like, especially in outdoor conditions. It kind of makes it somewhat a little bit difficult time just making out stuff. But overall, we're happy with the clarity of its display. It does offer some really nice visuals. Colors are on the neutral side, and as we mentioned already, the high resolution does make for some pretty good, clear-looking text. You're not going to have any problems as far as just making out on stuff that's on screen. In addition, though, it is fairly responsive to the touch. Plenty of real estate, as we mentioned already, and the display itself does attract a lot of fingerprints and smudges, so you'll really need to wipe it down with a cloth or something to keep it looking new. On the left edge of the Xoom, you have the volume rocker. It's on the top left corner. It's kind of small to make out. We're just wishing it was a little bit larger, and of course just bigger buttons, just because it's kind of very hard to make them out with your finger. On the bottom of the tablet, you have the micro USB port, the micro HDMI port. You have also the spot here to connect it to the power source. Well, on the top edge, we have the 3.5mm headset jack. Right here is just an opening here for the SIM card slot. Once it has the 4G LTE modem installed, you can put in your SIM card slot, but right now it's just a placeholder. You're going to have to go to a Verizon store once it's available to have it installed, the 4G LTE modem. And there's also the micro SD card slot right up there as well. In the rear, we find the 5-megapixel autofocus camera, dual LED flash. You have the dedicated power button. At first we had difficulty, we were unsure where the power button was, but it's actually right there. It's pretty large, and when you're holding it, it does make for a pretty good spot right there. And you have also the left and right speaker notches, so you get stereo sounds. And on the front of the device, you also have a front-facing 2-megapixel camera. At the heart of the Motorola Xoom is a 1 GHz NVIDIA Tegra 2 dual-core processor, and it also has 1 GB of DDR2 RAM, so it makes everything moving about the platform very smooth and swift, as you can tell right now. Even with some of the more interactive widgets, you can see some of the graphical effects. You also have the live wallpaper loaded on right now, and overall, there's just plenty of speed that we notice with the device. At times, though, when you have multiple programs running, there is a little bit of a tendency of lag or slowdown, but doesn't really deter from using the device overall. And still, the Tegra 2 processor does a great job as far as just navigating around the platform. So let's get right into it and just talk about the Android 3.0 Honeycomb experience. It's a drastic difference from previous versions of Android. And at first, when we checked it out, we were kind of a little bit overwhelmed just because of the new presentation and different layout. But after a while, you kind of get a sense that it still retains some of the basic foundations that Android started with. And from there, it kind of gets really easy as far as just using the device. So at the top portion of the home screen, or in any application you run, you'll have the action bar, and specific to each application that you run. Right now, since we're at the home screen, it'll show stuff like the Google search, voice search, and even the app tray right there. The bottom here is a system bar. At the bottom, that's always going to be there on any application that you run. And now you have the back button, you have the home button to get back to the home screen, and you have a task menu button here, which will show you the more recent applications that you launch, and you can quickly get in and out of different ones very quickly from there. Also, the notifications tray is no longer found at the top. It's found out at the bottom right corner where the clock is. It'll show you some other relevant information, such as the signal strength and even the battery life. And as you tell, it's not as obtrusive as before with the notifications. So it'll pop up just to indicate down there, and you could select each notification separately and see what it is, and you click out of it again. And the app panel is in the top right corner. You could move between all the applications. It's laid out in a grid-like view, and it's pretty much simple. And you'll accumulate more icons once you download more. But after a while, as we said, we kind of got a feel for it, and we like the overall speed it has to offer. Very responsive as far as just moving about the platform. As a whole, the Android 3.0 Honeycomb experience is very engaging just because the list of different interactive widgets that you have to offer, and has that almost holographic look to it, which you'll notice throughout the different applications, native applications such as the Gallery app. But as you can tell, you have the home screen here, the main panel. There's a total of 5 different ones you could lay out, you could change, you could also add different widgets, you could put shortcuts to do whatever you want. We definitely like the look and feel of it. It has that holographic look. If you want to personalize it, just like any other Android device, do a long press on the home screen. From here, you're going to be greeted to a bunch of different stuff. You can install different widgets. Let's say, for example, we want to put another clock widget at a specific home screen, so you can just basically click and drag to a specific home screen you want to do it, and there's 5 different ones, so we want to put it on there. You have that one there. You could place another one, put it in a different one, and it's going to pop up right there. You also have app shortcuts, so if you want to just put a shortcut, you could do that as well. You could do the same thing by simply going back to the home screen. If you go back to the app panel, you could do a long press on any one of them, and then you could click and drag it to any specific spot that you want. So, and the other personalization here, let's just show you that real quick. You have also different wallpapers. You have all the different ones specific to Android Honeycomb, 3.0 Honeycomb, which has a little bit nice look, holographic look to it. And you also have live wallpapers that you can choose. And again, it's going to be more customizable down the road when more items are offered. And you also have more, such as different selection options, bookmarks, and different stuff. So there's a whole level of personalization with it. We definitely like the look and feel. It's a little bit different. And as far as just the widgets are concerned, there are quite a few interactive ones, such as the one here for the Android market. You could scroll between all the different items on there for you. You could even go through your email if you want to. You have that option. And it's just a very nice looking, slick looking, and futuristic kind of approach, which is definitely one of the more appealing things about the tablet. The beauty about Honeycomb is that some of the native applications have been optimized to make use of the real estate offered on the tablet. So we'll quickly show that for you. Gmail application here. So the experience is just the same you see on a regular desktop, and makes use of the added real estate. On the left-hand side, you have your different folders. From there, all the different emails that you have in your account. You can have multiple accounts on there. So if you have more than one Gmail email account, you could use that. You can have it sync over. If I click an email, it's going to show it in another pane, and also show the pictures just like what you see on a regular computer. From here, you could do the same functions like you normal would. You could always archive it. You could favorite it. You could also store, reply all, just all the functions you expect out of using the Gmail on a desktop. And we're very happy just to see that's been made. It's translated well with the tablet experience. If you'll tilt it to portrait, it's going to offer you just pretty much the same experience. It just allows for a longer listing. You have the folders on the left-hand side, the emails on the right, and click one, it's going to open up the email like that. So it's pretty nice looking. Seeing that it's a little bit on the heavier side and also larger side of things, it does make a little bit does make for a little bit of difficulty just typing up something, especially in portrait view, just because you really hold your two hands and use your thumbs to type on there. Luckily though, the on-screen, the portrait option is very responsive. The keys are normal size, not as large as the landscape one, obviously, but it does get the job done. You also have a tab button, so you could quickly go through different listings very quickly, just like on a regular computer. If you're tilted to landscape, though, just going to show you that real quick here. So you get the larger landscape option, very good for the fingers, although it does take a little bit of time getting adjusted to it. It's not as fast as you type on a regular keyboard, but you kind of get the feel for it. And we didn't have that much problems at all just using it. And we like the overall responsiveness it has to offer. Of course, just because it's a tablet, it's going to offer some sort of ebook reading app, and that's what you find exactly with the Books application on the device here. Let's quickly show you what it has to offer. So basically, it'll sync up with your Google eBooks account, and from there you can just open up a different book. You could read a book on the device itself, and you can tell just flicking between the different pages here, just like you just see on a regular book. And it offers also double tap to zoom. You could also do pinch gestures to zoom in more. It gets a little bit easier on the eyes to look at, and of course, it takes advantage of the widescreen format, so you have both pages viewed at the same time. After long usage, you probably want to just lower down the brightness, just so that's a little bit easier on the eyes. But overall, it does offer a great experience. If you happen to be big on movie editing, then you're definitely going to like the application that's offered on the Motorola Xoom. It's the Movie Studio app. You could run it directly, and from there you could do a bunch of different stuff. You could edit different videos if you want. You could add different effects too. And the neat thing about it, you could add photos. You could add different effects. You have gradient, sepia, negative. You also have the ability to select different templates, so you could add different captions to it. And of course, you have a bunch of different transition effects you could apply between each cuts, and it definitely adds a nice touch, especially seeing that you could do it all locally on the tablet itself. So if you're into this type of stuff, you'll definitely appreciate it. Not that much has changed really with the calendar app with the Android 3.0 experience, just because at its core it's basically what we saw previously in other versions of Android. So we have it here in month view. You could select in week, also day. You could also select. You could add a new event if you want to, and automatically will sync it. At its core, it just remains the same. Nothing really too big. It just makes use of the added real estate that the tablet has to offer. So here's the Gallery app, and it takes advantage of the 3D processing power with the device here. So as you can tell, it lays it out in a grid-like view, but if you tilt it, you kind of have that 3D effect going on with it as you're rotating it. You could also do the same thing by just swiping in different directions. But let's just get into a photo. As you can tell, it quickly jumps right into it. You could select the photo. You could do some editing stuff to it, just like you normally find. You could rotate it. You could crop it if you want. You could even share it to different medias, whether it be Picasso, your Facebook, Twitter, Gmail, email. But it just offers pretty much the same stuff. You could swipe between the different photos you have, and you could also zoom in if you want to. And overall, it's pretty much the same standard flair, except for the fact that the presentation layout has just a slight makeover with it. So now we'll quickly show you the Google Maps application, how it's optimized for the tablet experience here. Just like any other Android smartphone, you have the map here. You could add different layers, and you see the pop-up menu come up here. You could add Buzz, you could add Terrain View if you want. You could also join Google Latitude. And it also offers Google Maps navigation, so you have turn-by-turn directions. In certain cities, of course, you have 3D views available, so once you zoom into a specific area, just do a swipe down. And thanks to the fast dual-core processor on board, it makes everything just go pretty smooth here. You could rotate, you could zoom in even more if you want to, and offers a really nice visual experience that you'd only expect out of a high-end device like this. You also have the usual street view, so you can enable compass mode to get that real-like feel as if you were there. And overall, it pretty much remains the same, it just makes better use of the added real estate with the tablet. Now, if you love web browsing, you're going to like the experience on the Motorola Xoom just because it offers a great one. Although it's worth knowing that it doesn't have Flash 10.1 support right off the bat, so it's going to be made available shortly down the road with an update down sometime. So it kind of reminds us similar to the experience you find on the Google Chrome browser. You have the action bar on top, which shows you all the different windows you have opened up. You could switch between them at any time. You could even add a new one if you wanted to. It also will sync with your Google Chrome bookmarks, so you have that available to you. You could also go into incognito mode, so it doesn't leave any cookies behind. But as far as the web browsing experience, it's all there. It's pretty sharp looking, and of course you have double tap to zoom in, double tap to zoom out. You have pinch gestures to zoom in, zoom out. It's very responsive, as you can tell, very quick. But once it has that Flash 10.1 support, it will offer just like that desktop feel. But overall, right now, it's more than usable and definitely a great thing, especially when you consider the fact the added real estate it has to offer. So here's the updated look of the Android market, and as you tell, it's rotating different applications on top. You could download all the different applications if you want to. Now, it's worth noting that not all apps are optimized for the tablet experience. Google sent out the SDK for Android 3.0 Honeycomb, so hopefully developers get right on that and offer some really nice optimized experiences with their apps. We're just going to show you a couple of them here. So if we go into one of the applications that does work is Google Sky Maps. So we downloaded this, and as you tell, it works just like you see on a regular smartphone. At the same time, we have Angry Birds, so it's going to play that. You can play it, and it's going to offer the same exact experience that you find on a smartphone. But when we downloaded Google Earth, it kind of has a little bit of a problem with it as far as just loading up. And right now, it just stays stuck in this mode. We do notice with some applications, it does kind of close or force close. Kind of has some problems with it, so we're not sure why. It just most likely has to do with compatibility with Honeycomb. But hopefully down the road, it's going to get addressed and offer a really nice experience. But overall, it's still pretty good, and most of the applications will work. So now we'll quickly show off the processing power that the Xoom has to offer thanks to its fast 1 GHz dual-core processor. So we're playing the game here, Cordy, which is made specifically for the tablet experience, and you can tell it's running fairly smoothly, no problems at all. Very graphically intensive application here. Let's say I wanted to go back to the home screen, I could do that. I could click the task menu here. I could jump back right into the game if I wanted to, and leads me back to the same spot that I was at before. And let's say while I'm in here, I want to go back to the web browser. I could do that. I can go back to web browsing, or let's say I want to go back to my game of Angry Birds where I paused. I could still do that too if I wanted to. And of course, just jumping back into the game itself, the QWERTY game, it brings me back to the location where I was. Now, it does do a good job of multitasking, but with other applications, depending on what you're doing, it might bring you back to the initial level. It doesn't kind of bring you back to the same state that you were at. But still, the multitasking element is pretty fantastic, especially when it brings you back to the same location you were at before. So here's the updated look of the Android music player, and we gotta say, it does add a lot of visual flair compared to previous versions of Android. As you can tell here, we're moving between all the albums available on the device itself, and it's moving very fluidly, barely any evidence of any lag or slowdown, and we do like the nice looking candy eye effects it has to offer. If you select an album here, I'll show you the track information, and click this song. It'll show you the album cover, on-screen controls, and also track information if you wanted to. There are some other options here if you want to. You could add a playlist and all that. If you go back to the home screen, it's going to minimize, and of course the notifications area. If you click that, you can launch the mini player. If I want to get back to the full player, you could do that as well. Now the great thing about the Xoom is its fantastic audio quality from its speaker. It's very strong, seeing that it's left and right, so you give you that really nice stereo experience. And we're happy with the overall sound it offered. It's very strong, powerful, and had a lot of bass to it as well. Since the Motorola Xoom is a high-caliber device, it's not going to have any problems as far as playing high-definition content. Videos as well, no problem whatsoever, and thanks to the large display, it makes for the perfect companion if you're going to be going on road trips, especially long ones, just because the manufacturer has it rated for 10 hours of video playback. Granted that it might be less than that, but still, should be more than enough getting you by with a 2-hour video. And the display is nice, crisp, and it offers nice colors too, so you're not going to have any problems watching videos. And on top of that, you also have HDMI out support, so you can connect it to a television to watch on the big screen, so you get that full fidelity experience. So here's the camera interface, and for something that's not really pocketable, we're very surprised by the wealth of options and also the quality that the 5 megapixel camera on the Xoom has to offer. So the interface here, it's pretty much laid out slightly different from what you expect. You have some controls here on the right hand side. You could do a digital zoom. You go to as much as eight times digital zoom. You also have this kind of a dial here, a circular dial, that you could rotate between different options here. You go to different flash modes. You could select the white balance, the color effects, so you could choose from none. You have mono, sepia, negative, even solarized and posterized options here. And you also have this different scene modes, so you can set it to automatic, you could put it to nighttime, and of course the camera settings where you could change the focus level from automatic to macro and all that. The bottom here, you could switch between the camera and also the camcorder options, and you can switch also to the front-facing camera. You also have you can get into the gallery app by just clicking the bottom left. But as far as photos are concerned, again, we're very surprised by the quality, especially indoors in artificial lighting. We find it to take some acceptable photos. Even outdoors, colors are natural looking. There's plenty of detail. Even in macro mode, it does retain a good amount of detail as well. And overall, we're very pleased with it. Indoors, if you're going to do it in low lighting conditions, we're still surprised by the fact that it does a great job. It does manage to retain some level of color to it. It doesn't really fade out or look a little bit washed out. It's just neutral. And with the aid of the flash, and you can tell from our camera samples, it does a good job of just retaining a lot of detail, especially in nighttime conditions. So overall, for something that's not really considered to be pocketable and something very large, the Motorola Xoom definitely does a great job in taking photos. Unfortunately, we're not all that fond of the Motorola Xoom's 720p video recording just because it kind of is lacking on the details department. So I'll quickly show you here the video that we took in 720p. It does move at a frame rate of 29 frames per second, so at least that's pretty smooth. Color production looks to be on a neutral side. It did a good job of that, and it automatically will adjust exposure according to the scenery to make it a little bit more suitable for for playback. But the biggest eyesore is, of course, just detail. When we downloaded the video and connected and played it on the computer, it kind of looked pretty bad. It just lacked any sharpness to it. It just looked a little bit more fuzzy than anything else. And again, it's just the biggest eyesore with it. Aside from that, most people will probably get by with it, but when compared to the other devices out there that offer great camera quality, it's kind of lacking just in the details department. As for battery life, we didn't have any problems with it. It's pretty average. It's not the best or not the worst out there. It's more than acceptable. We managed to get by a solid 8-hour workday with it. Right now it's at 48% capacity. So like usual, we'll probably get by close to a day's usage out of it on normal usage. But for heavy users, plan on just bringing an extra spare charger just because it's going to probably get by you're not going to get by a day with the battery. You could also increase its capacity by, of course, setting the brightness to manual, or probably the lowest setting, and of course just washing out the types of applications that you're running. So there you have it, guys. That pretty much wraps up our Motorola Xoom video review, and we definitely love the Android 3.0 Honeycomb experience. It's definitely one of the most uplifting parts about the device itself. We could care less about the design of the Motorola Xoom just because it's pretty much typical of any other tablet out there in the market. Granted, though, it does offer some really premium materials. A little bit on the bigger, larger size, and it's a little bit heavier just because of the 10.1-inch display it has to offer, but the design of the Xoom is not really the first thing that captures your eye. It does have a lot of nice hardware under the hood, such as the 1 GHz dual-core processor. You have the 5-megapixel autofocus camera. You have 32 GB of storage on board, and a front-facing one. So a lot of functionality for the buck, but it is a little bit pricey, and that's ultimately what's gonna make it a success or not. If consumers out there are willing to shell out $800 off contract with a device that's deemed as the first Android 3.0 Honeycomb tablet on there in the market. So there are going to be additional ones down the road, but right now for Motorola, they definitely have a winner in this, and definitely is going to bring Android to the whole new level, just because we finally get to experience a rich tablet experience, which I've yet to see out of the Android camp. So if you'd like to learn more about the Motorola Xoom tablet, or for all latest cell phone reviews, news, specs, and information, you can check us out at PhoneArena.com.